everyone. You know how sometimes you just feel completely swamped, like drowning in deadlines and to-do lists?
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, it's like the modern day dilemma, right?
Right.
Well, that's exactly why we're diving into something a little more, well, relaxing this time.
Okay, sounds good to me.
We're talking about stress-free family vacations, and not just how to survive them, but how to make those good vibes last way after you've unpacked your bags.
No, that's something I think we all need a little more of.
Seriously. And the sources you sent for this one,
Yeah.
a total mixed bag in the best way possible. We've got a scientific journal, a whole transcript from a podcast about family travel,
Oh, interesting.
and even some research from a family studies website. It's like the perfect recipe for a deep dive, don't you think?
I'd say so. And honestly, when I was looking through everything, it's amazing how much research is actually out there
Mm.
about this whole link between family vacations and like actual stress reduction?
It's wild. And it's not just anecdotal. There's a legit science backing it up. Which actually, speaking of, there was this one thing in the podcast transcript that really blew my mind. It said that the good de-stressing stuff about vacations, it's not just some temporary high. We're talking benefits that can stick around for weeks after you're back home.
Weeks. Really?
Yeah, weeks. I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want to bottle up those vacation vibes and like bring them back to reality?
Talk about the ultimate souvenir.
Right. So naturally, I had to dig into the why. And apparently, there's a pretty fascinating biological reason this happens.
No, I'm all ears.
So the Journal of Psychosomatic Research, they published this study, and apparently vacations can seriously lower our cortisol levels.
Okay, so for anyone who's not a scientist like myself.
Which is most of us, let's be real.
Exactly. Cortisol,
Ah.
that's our main stress hormone.
Yeah.
It's the thing that's basically always on high alert thanks to, well, life.
Right, that always-on feeling. But here's the thing. This study, it found that the effect of lowering cortisol was even stronger when the vacations had a good mix of both relaxation and social connection. And let's be honest, those two things practically go hand in hand with family trips, right?
It's like the perfect storm for stress busting when you think about it.
Totally. But how does it even work? Like, what's going on in our brains and bodies that makes these trips so impactful?
So picture this. Imagine your body's stress response system, the whole thing, like a car engine.
Okay, I'm with you.
Now, when you're constantly stressed out, that engine, it's stuck in overdrive, 2-4-7, which, as you can imagine, wears it down. Vacations, even the short ones, they give your engine that much-needed break.
Ah, a chance to cool down.
Exactly. And when that happens, your cortisol levels, they finally get a chance to drop, giving your body a chance to, like, actually repair and recharge. And it's not just about getting a break from work emails or whatever. Spending time with people you care about, especially in a relaxed setting, it triggers the release of this other hormone, oxytocin.
Wait, oxytocin, isn't that the love hormone, like the one responsible for all the warm fuzzies?
That's the one. And it's basically cortisol's, like, calming counterpart.
Interesting. But how does that, like, actually help with stress?
Think of it this way. Your body's producing oxytocin when you're hugging, laughing, just generally enjoying someone's company. And the cool part, research shows that this actually helps lower those stress hormones we were talking about, creating this sort of feedback loop of good feelings. So when you're on vacation, you're laughing with family, making memories, all that good stuff, your body's basically bathing itself in oxytocin.
So it's like hitting the reset button on your stress levels.
Exactly.
It's like a biological vacation massage.
Right. Sign me up.
Seriously. Okay, but speaking of vacations, you know how we always see those picture-perfect trips on social media?
Oh, yeah. The perfectly posed family photos, everyone's smiling serenely.
Right, and you're like, is that even real life? Because let's be honest, family vacations, yeah, they can be amazing, but they also come with, their fair share of
Let's call them character-building experiences.
Exactly. Those moments that maybe weren't so fun in the moment, but they make for good stories later. And actually, the podcast transcript brought up something really interesting about this. It talked about how those sometimes stressful, hiccups along the way, they can actually become bonding experiences.
Oh, really? Like what, specifically?
Think, like the missed flight or the time you ended up with the rental car that smelled vaguely of old cheese.
Okay, that last one might be specific to my family.
Hey, we've all been there, right? But the point is, the podcast mentioned this study by the Institute of Family Studies, and apparently families who problem solve together on vacation, they actually end up feeling more connected afterward.
Interesting. So it's like going through those little trials by fire brings you closer together.
It's like forging a family bond in the crucible of a missed connection.
Okay, well, when you put it that way.
But you get the idea. It becomes part of your shared history and reminds you that you can face those curveballs together and come out, stronger.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's not about avoiding stress altogether, but about changing how we view it.
Exactly. So those are we lost moments, they become opportunities for a good laugh later on.
Or a really epic eye roll. Okay, so speaking of navigating those inevitable bumps, what about some practical tips to make those trips smoother?
Yes. Because let's be real, sometimes even the planning stage can feel like a full-time job.
Oh, tell me about it. Packing lists, itineraries, making sure everyone has their favorite.
Don't even get me started on the snacks.
Mm-hmm.
But the podcast, it actually had this really simple tip. Pack light.
Okay, easier said than done sometimes, especially with kids.
Right. But honestly, it's amazing how much stress melts away when you're not lugging around like a whole luggage carousel's worth of stuff.
It's true. And you know what else can help? Not over-planning.
Oh, you mean like ditching the minute-by-minute itinerary?
Exactly. The International Journal of Travel Research, they did this study, and it turns out families who are a little more go with the flow, a little more flexible, they tend to enjoy their vacations more.
So basically, we're giving ourselves permission to actually relax and enjoy the moment.
Exactly. And speaking of involving everyone, here's another thought. Why not get the whole family in on the planning?
Oh, I love that. Not just to lighten the load for us parents, but it teaches kids, valuable life skills.
Right. Maybe you have a family brainstorming session, everyone gets to pick an activity.
Ooh, we could even make it fun. Like, okay, what's our plan if we get completely turned around? Or who's in charge of the snack fund?
Love it. It doesn't have to be stressful, it can be part of the fun.
Okay, so we've got packing light, going with the flow, and making it a family affair. Anything else for the stress-free vacation toolkit?
Oh, absolutely. One word, delegate.
Oh, you mean like not letting one person, usually mom, handle every single detail?
Exactly. Divide and conquer, my friend.
Right. Dad's in charge of navigation, kids are in charge of packing their own backpacks.
And you, my friend, can be in charge of...
Snacks! I'm seeing a theme here.
Hey, someone's got to do it. And honestly, it makes it more fun, too.
It's all about teamwork.
Exactly. And hey, why not have some fun with it? Appoint a chief fun officer or a director of relaxation. It's amazing how a little lightheartedness can really change the whole vibe.
Love it. Make it fun. Make it a team effort. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. But what about when the vacation's over? Like, how do we hold on to those good stress-busting vibes once we're back in the swing of things? It's like, how do we make those vacation benefits last longer than our tans?
Well, that's where the real magic comes in.
Yeah.
It's about taking those awesome experiences, the connections, the fun, and weaving it into your everyday life.
So we can't just come home and immediately get sucked back into the daily grind.
It's tough, right? But yeah, we've got to hold on to those vacation vibes. And one of the best ways to do that is actually through storytelling. Think about it. What's the first thing we do after a trip? We tell stories.
So true. We're sharing those funny moments that you had to be there moments.
Exactly. And those become family legends. But there's a reason for that. Sharing those stories, reliving those experiences, it actually helps solidify those positive memories in our brain.
Oh, so it's like we're reinforcing those good feelings every time we tell the story.
Exactly. And remember how we talked about positive memories being like a buffer against stress? Well, the more we revisit those memories, the more accessible they become when we need a little mood boost.
Okay, that's actually really cool. So instead of just asking, how was your day at dinner, maybe we should be asking, what was the funniest thing that happened on our trip today?
I love that. And don't forget about visual reminders, too. Photos, scrapbooks, maybe even a playlist of songs that remind you of the trip. Those little things can be so powerful.
Ooh, a vacation playlist? That's a good one, like a shortcut to instant relaxation. But what about the bigger picture? We keep talking about how these trips can strengthen family bonds. How do we make sure those changes stick around once the vacation's over?
That's where a little post-vacation reflection comes in handy. After you've unpacked, settled back in, take some time as a family to just debrief what went well, what you learned, maybe even things you'd do differently next time.
Like a family meeting, but without the boring PowerPoint slides.
Exactly. Keep it lighthearted, but it's a chance to acknowledge each other, appreciate everyone's efforts. Maybe dad gets an award for best navigator, or your teenager actually surprised you with how patient they were.
It's those little things that can make a big difference.
Absolutely. You're taking those shared experiences and turning them into chances to grow, to appreciate each other. It's really cool, actually.
It really is. And this whole conversation, it's made me realize there's actually a ton of research and thought that goes into understanding why family vacations are so beneficial.
It's true. And it's not just about the fun, although that's a huge part of it, of course.
Yeah.
It really highlights how interconnected our mental, physical, emotional well-being, all of it really is.
Well said. This has been awesome. Thanks so much for sharing all this with us.
My pleasure, honestly. It's not every day you get to geek out about vacations and well-being.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into stress-free family vacations. Hopefully you're leaving with some new ideas, some practical tips, and maybe a renewed excitement for your next family adventure. And remember, it doesn't have to be some big Instagram-worthy trip to make a difference. The important thing is to make time for those shared experiences, embrace the chaos, and cherish those connections that make life so special. Until next time, happy travels, everyone.